Hi, my name's Susan Morrison, and for the next 45 minutes I'll be quizzing our panel of comedians, historical experts and you at home on some of the most incredible stories to come from the castles of Scotland. Come on inside. Welcome to Historic Fact or Fake News. Thank you for joining us here live in the Great Hall of Edinburgh Castle. Woo! We've got a great show for you, packed with fact, fiction, fun, and more than a little fake news. For example, were the honours of Scotland really hidden in a lavvy? Now, we'll find out later, but here tonight to sort out the facts from the fake news, please welcome our two teams, Ran McInnes and Ashley Storrie. Dr. Nikki Scott and Sanjeev Kohli. How fantastic. Ranald, you are the historic expert on your team. What is it that you do for Historic Environment Scotland?
Well, Susan, I work with three brilliant teams in Historic Environment Scotland, including my colleague, Nikki, Dr. Scott. We produce books, we do fantastic research, we deliver learning, so it's education, education, education. I love it.
And so you shouldn't. Great job as well. And Ashley, you are what a tiara hen. Fabulous. You are a stand-up comedian from Glasgow, and we just saw you on BBC Three's Dinosaur. Which parts of history are you interested in?
The olden days, Susan.
You said that looking at me with such a laser-like penetrating gaze there.
Tell me about the 60s. What was that like?
One day, hen, I'll sit you down, we'll have a wee word. And Nikki, you are a researcher at Historic Environment Scotland. What's your favourite thing about working here in a castle like this?
It's getting into all the behind-the-scenes stuff. So getting into all the secret stairways, the closed-off chambers, all those bits of the sites that visitors don't normally get to see. We get to go poke around in them and explore them.
So if you offer to see us out, we will never see daylight again.
It depends how many points you give us.
All right, okay. And of course, we've got the fabulous Sanjeev Kohli there. Hello there. Comedian, actor and still game at River City, pun writer extraordinaire. And also the voice on my Couch to 5K running app, which is very pleasant for me, I must say. So if you say, well done, Susan, I'll start running around the room, right?
I'm very proud of you, Susan. You've got this.
Right, I'm away. So tell me, what's the oldest joke you know? Or what's the joke you can tell anyway?
Well, can I do the opposite and tell you the latest joke I've heard?
Oh, latest
it's
joke?
my favourite. It's now my favourite joke. How do you think the unthinkable with an iceberg?
Right, moving on.
It was slow, but I got it.
Look at that. Tiara's out of line and everything now. Before we get started, I need your team names. So, Ashley, what's your team going to be called?
I think because we're fast-witted and cutting, we're going to be the sword. Swords? Sword?
Swords. Like it, Sanjeev?
Well, we're going to go with shields, or as Naveen might say, bollock shields. No, shields. With the shields.
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 Right, totally.
Shields.
Sword. Shields. Right. And for our audience at home, let us know who you're watching, which team you're supporting. Is it going to be Ranald and Ashley there with the shields and the swords? So just let us know which we'd like you to do. So we'd like you to play along as well. So we want you to put fact or fake news up on the chat box, which you can do, and we'll pick out some of the smartest history sleuths we know. So it's time for round one, and in this one we're going to hear a story from each of our panel, and the other team has to work out if it's historic fact or fake news. So, Ranald, let's hear from you first. What story have you plucked from the archives?
Okay. Well, the earliest, the darkest, bloodiest event that ever took place in Edinburgh Castle became the inspiration for a notorious scene in the biggest television series of the last 10 years.
Ooh, well, I'm guessing it's not the magic roundabout then. And there might be people from all over the world shocked with this, and we do have people watching from all over the world. Hello, Linda in Liberty, Texas, Amy in Hull, and Inga in Atlanta. Hull's very, very dramatic. And so this is a very dramatic scene. It's a violence, blood. Great start to the show. Ranald, I think you'll have to tell us a bit more.
Well, it was a dark, stormy night, November 1440. Picture the scene. We're here in Edinburgh Castle. The young King James II, he's only 10 years old, and he's invited, he's throwing a party, he's having a banquet. And he's got two guests of honour if that's the right word, because where everything is going well, the Earl of Douglas and his younger brother are there. There's another party of nobles. It's a merry scene. There's a blazing fireplace. Everything is fine. But suddenly, very unexpectedly, the whole place goes silent because in has come, on a silver platter carried by a waiter, the severed head of a bull, still dripping with blood. The platter is placed down in front of the Earl of Douglas. Now, this can only mean one thing.
What?
There's no vegetarian option. No, it means another thing as well. It means impending doom.
Impending
It means
doom.
death. And everybody knows it. Moments later, the two young noblemen are whisked out of the building and executed on the spot. Now, let me count. 550 years later, is that right? The books and films, Thrones,
Game of
Thrones. Sorry, I'm not a devotee. Game of Thrones used that scene as the basis for their scene at the Red Dinner.
Right.
Red
Red wedding.
Sorry,
I like the sound of a red dinner.
I know.
So,
Well, I mean, if there's blood dripping everywhere, it would be a red
would be
dinner.
red.
it would be a red, it would be. So Sanjeev and Nikki, what do you think? Do you think that's true? Or do you think it was just the worst episode to come dine with me ever?
So the bull's head was like a portent or a...
Exactly.
Okay. And James II was 10 at the time.
Yes.
Okay, so couldn't have just done party bags.
No.
And
He did. I must tell you, he did protest.
so
Somewhat.
so it wasn't him.
It wasn't him. No. It was carried out on his behalf. If you see what I mean by that.
Okay. So who was actually benefiting then? Who's getting out of these killings?
Well, not the caterer, obviously, because they never get rebooked.
Not the vegan pop-up.
No. It's hard to say, obviously, because the two noblemen were accused of treason, and this is why they got what they got. And so the benefit was to, I guess, the crown. But oddly enough, the uncle of the Douglases also benefited because he became the new Earl of Douglas and became one of the richest men in Scotland.
This is making Jeremy Kyle
So
look quite tame.
a bit of a mystery, really.
Not
Okay.
just Douglas, but bullless.
I see
Right.
what you did there.
You've asked your question, Sanjeev. Right, Nikki, Sanjeev, what do you think, fact or fiction?
Well, I like the sound of this, using this birthday party as a sort of a Trojan horse thing.
Yeah, you lull them into a false sense of security.
This is how you do
You're
it,
just
isn't
coming
it?
for a party.
You wouldn't send an invite, you're going to be slaughtered.
No.
You'd say you're coming to enjoy
Come
some
along.
cake.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's true.
Yeah, true.
True or fake news?
Unfortunately, it is true. It's the most gruesome story. And, there's a lot of competition in Scottish history. It's the most gruesome story.
It is the most appalling story, and it really doesn't feature well for Scottish catering at all. But it's absolutely true. Therefore, the first 2 points tonight go to the fabulous Shields over here. Right. Fabulous. So the Red Wedding, the famous episode Red Wedding in Game of Thrones, was inspired by a genuine event from Scottish history. So well done to you guys. Now, it's Nikki Scott. Now, you have many an interesting tale to tell from Scottish castles. So just before you do that, hello to Elizabeth MacLeod in Canada. And Clarice is supporting Ashley's team. Go, Clarice. And the mean man is in foggy Shetland. Alan Purvis is a Scot in California. And Noodle MJ is watching with their cat. Hello, cat. And Mousette says, hello from California, and hello back to you. So, Nikki, it's up to you. What unbelievable story have you unearthed for us?
Well, I have this tale of an Italian courtier of James IV who attempted to fly from Stirling Castle to France.
Okay, this is James IV. He's going to fly from Scotland to France.
Yes.
Okay, so this is quite far back, so I think you're going to have to tell us just a wee bit more there, I think. Yeah.
Well, by the standards of the day, which we must stress are very different to our standards, I would say, James IV was probably one of the most successful of the Stuart monarchs. And he was a great lover of arts, architecture, navy, and he was also a bit of a lover of science, liked a bit of alchemy. So at his court, one of his courtiers was a guy called John Damien, who was an alchemist. And he would spend his time trying to turn metals into gold to perhaps improve the royal finances, and also trying to find quintessence. Yes. But among the things he also did was try to fly. And so he built himself a pair of wings and leapt off the battlements, attempting to fly. Sadly, he didn't make it very far. No, and ended up landing in a midden, which he blamed on the use of chicken feathers. Obviously, aren't noted for their great flight skills.
Error. I mean, but what do you think? True or false?
I don't know. I've got an uncle a bit like that. He was an alchemist. I mean, he printed fake money, so I think that's pretty much the same thing. He was
That's
called
like-
Tommy. He's dead. But I think that there's I'm getting vibes for him. I'm liking him. I feel it's brave. It's bold. Did he have carry-on luggage? Is that what weighed him down?
Well, he was known for spending a bit of time eating and drinking with the king and playing cards, so maybe he'd had too heavy a meal.
Do always say have a light meal before a long flight.
Yeah. Was he a frequent flyer?
I suspect he'd not had a lot of practice before this attempt.
Right.
I suspect he wouldn't try again.
Well, where was the midden? I take it, was it in France?
No.
But was
That's
it
a
in
shame.
Stirling itself, or did he get as far as, I don't know, Falkirk, Grangemouth?
No, Midden was right below the castle walls.
Can I just check? So he was a courtier? A courtier?
Courtier.
Does that mean he was making sweet love with the king? Is that what they are?
No, darling, that's a courtesan. It's quite different.
Okay, so
I understand the confusion.
Okay, that's close, but no coconut.
He was a good friend of the king, shall we say.
But not that close.
And
Okay.
They did play cards together often, sometimes late into the night.
Strip poker.
Ashley.
Right, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to create a story.
I'm getting
I want
really coming forward.
romance. It's Paris. They're flying to Paris for the weekend. What's
Actually, think Leonardo da Vinci, he thought men could fly. That sounds about
That's
the right
something.
date.
And he's my favourite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Well, we're definitely on the right track then, aren't we? So,
Yeah.
what do we think? Do we think that James IV's courtier was really trying to start the first very, very budget airline, flyersell.com? Or was it fake, or was it real?
You're a historian. Does it feel real? Because I believe a lot of things.
Ashley.
Oh, I'm going to say it's real because I want to believe.
It's fake
Oh,
news,
you
I'm
big
afraid.
liar. You big lying pants and fire. I hate you.
Well, I mean,
So
to be
I'm
fair, we used to think it was real, but we
Aw.
now think it's just a poet, William Dunbar, who was having a bit of a dig at Damien because his nose was a bit out of joint because Damien was getting all the king's favour.
Strip poker.
He threw Damien under the bus.
Bad luck, but I mean, I love it. You really believe a man can fly, but not with chicken feathers. That's where he went wrong.
I want
Honestly,
to
so
believe he
sorry.
tried.
No points for you there, but have we got anybody there that saw that online? No, the Team Shield supporters are watching on Facebook. You have lots of supporters for Team Shields, by the way. So
the
special
best.
mention if anybody got that, but they didn't. So Ashley, now, I've really been looking forward to this one. Time to straighten up your tiara hen and hit us with your story.
Wait till you hear about this one. Mary, Queen of Scots, had the horn
Are we back to the courtesans?
of a unicorn that she kept in Edinburgh Castle.
A real unicorn?
Yes,
Can I just, you're quite a big fan of Harry Potter?
I'm a big fan of all beautiful magical things.
And so, you know, fantasy stories, so there could be some fake news there. I think you're going to have to give us a wee bit more information.
Well, a 1566 inventory of the Royal Jewel House at Edinburgh Castle included a piece of unicorn horn with a silver chain. Classy. You don't want it on gold. That would have made it tacky. As well as being the symbol of the Scottish monarchy, unicorns were believed to protect against poison and were worn as amulets. Also, unicorn, national animal of Scotland. And unicorns are real. I mean, you can all, okay, I know you're looking at me with doubt in your eyes and we don't have a lot of time to discuss this, right? But rhinoceros horns are sought after things, right? And rhinoceros horns have been shrinking over time because rhinoceroses with small horns don't get poached. So, if unicorns were getting killed for their horns, then unicorns with smaller horns would survive and then they would become horses. And now the friendliest horses are actually unicorns in disguise. Fact.
So are we saying that horses are nonicorns?
Yes.
Yes, it's a non-unicorn. You heard it here first, the evolution of the unicorns into the dray horse of the 20th century. Can I just say that Vicky, Carrie and Fiona on Facebook think all this is true, and they are really wrong. However, I have to look at my team over here and say, did Mary Queen of Scots really have a unicorn? Let's leave out the evolution of the horn disappearing. Did she actually have a unicorn horn or not? What do you think? You may ask questions.
Well, did she think it was unicorn horn, or was she maybe?
Well, Mary Queen of Scots was a very learned woman. So yes, she did believe that it was a unicorn horn.
Was Mary a woman of science, do we know?
I mean, she was learned, but a woman of science is
She got an A in biology at her GCSEs. Fact.
What happened to the horn?
Unfortunately, they think that it might have been pawned off to help build up the... I'm going to say this word and I think I'm meaning it. To build up the coiffers.
The coffers? The coiffers.
I mean, she did wear a wig, so...
Yeah.
Coiffers and coiffs.
What do you think?
I think it's fake news. I have to say, I don't think it was in the inventory. I think that's made up.
Is that your final answer?
Well, before you...
are you thinking?
I'm thinking it might... Not knowing how mad they were back then, I'm thinking it might be...
I'm switching my answer to true. I think it's absolutely true. It wasn't in the unicorn horn.
I love someone who's not easily influenced, don't you? Just to let you know that Douglas Bell thinks it's true and Grant Robson thinks it's fake. So, Ashley, over to you now. True.
It is a fact. It's a true fact. The Queen believed it, and I wouldn't disagree with her because she's Queen. So...
So, there we go. So, that is 2 more points. You've still got points to catch up there. Confirmation from Historic Environment Scotland that unicorns are actually real. And also, now thanks to Ashley, we know where they disappeared to because they evolved to lose their horns. So, there we go. And thanks to all those who joined in with that one. But now, lastly, on this round, we're turning to Sanjeev. And which story have you uncovered for the history of Scotland?
Well, during the Wars of Independence, Edward I, a.k.a. Edward Longshanks, a.k.a. that old bad man from Braveheart, remember him? Sent an army to lay siege to Carlaverock Castle that outnumbered the Scots 150 to 1, just to make sure, 150 to 1.
Oh, marvellous. You did mention that cutting-edge panorama documentary, Braveheart there. Marvellous.
Narrated by Neil Oliver, yes.
Yes, so, with the hair. So, please, I think we need to know just a little bit more about Claverlock.
Okay, let me furnish you with some more facts. In 1300, during the Wars of Independence, Edward I besieged Carlaverock. A poem known as The Siege of Carlaverock was probably written by an eyewitness as an early form of journalism. So you'll just get all the ages wrong and say when a woman is wearing clothes, she's flaunting her curves. Edward brought almost 9,000 soldiers with him against a castle garrison of only 60 Scots. Now, it's a beautiful castle described here in the Siege of Carlaverock. Let me just quote to you. Mighty was Carlaverock Castle. Siege it feared not. Scorn surrender, wherefore came the king in person. Shield-shaped was it, corner-towered, gate and drawbridge barbicaned, strongly walled, and girt with ditches filled with water brimmingly, and coiffeurs. Ne'er was castle lovelier sited. And it was 150 to 1, that was the ratio.
That's a bit estate manager speak then. That
Ideal for first-time buyers.
Ideal for first-time buyers.
A fixer-upper, yes.
Mature garden with water feature. And 150 is a bit overcompensating. Do you ever overcompensate, Sanjeev?
I do a wee bit, because you won't know it to look at me, but my head is massive, and I know this because I've been told this, because I can't get hats to fit me. So what I do is, whenever I come to places like this, I get the doors widened.
Which we did today.
So yeah, that's why I look in proportion now.
So, what do we think?
Well, you know, it's not a pitched battle. It's not, you know, how many was it?
50 to 1.
I know, but they're inside a very, very, very large castle. And it wasn't wasn't unheard of for 50s. Think of the Alamo, 50, 60 people to hold out against great armies. So to me, it seems plausible. What do you think, Ashley? No?
I think this might be a stupid question, but to be fair, I've already asked about 19 of them and we're only like 3 minutes deep. Did the English win?
Well, Edward was known as the hammer of the Scots, not the hammy. So I think we can assume they won, didn't they? The English won. Yeah.
Right. We've reached, I think you've got to make a decision. Did you say that Kenneth Holmes says true, Inga says true, and Grant says true, Grace says false, although she'd like to believe it. So, the answer has to finally be...
Right, you say, because I said last time and I was wrong, and you're the historian.
Right. I know, but I've got more to lose by being wrong, but I'll say it's true.
What, 151, Ronald? It's true!
Yes!
It's true!
It's Christmas.
Oh, you made me nervous.
Could have been there.
It was a moment of high tension.
It was, wasn't
true.
it? Apparently, Edward was so keen to punish the Scots for William Wallace's continued insurrection, he would use heavy-handed like this, just, it wouldn't be uncommon. One defender was killed, and they sent out a man to display a flag, a pennon, as a symbol of submission. Before the attack could be ordered to stop, an arrow was fired, which went through the hand holding the pennon right into his face.
Oofed.
Heavy-handed, I think, is the word of the day.
And good health and safety tip there about keeping a pennant away from your face when there's Englishmen with arrows about. Thank you, wonderfully done, team. I think that's the end of round one, and I think you'll find that Shield is actually in the lead by a single point there. Oh, good for Now, something a wee bit different now. Historic Environment Scotland, there's over 300 properties, believe it or not, amazing. All across the country, there's a wide range of skills, knowledge and talent to look after them. So let's meet one of those incredible people. Let us meet the fabulous Kat Milligan.
Yay!
Oh, wow. Between yourself and Ashley, I'm so underdressed. You look absolutely fabulous. You actually do with Historic Environment Scotland, sorry.
I'm very lucky actually to be a steward at the beautiful Thrieve Castle, which is the home of the Grim down in Dumfries and Galloway on an island in the middle of a nature.
And do you have a particular interest in food, something like foraging or something?
Yeah, I've been foraging since I was little. I now run Wild Cat. But I really like to combine it with my interest in history through a bit of experimental cooking and reenactment. So most of the dishes here tonight have been created using authentic cooking techniques and ingredients.
I'm a bit of a forager myself. You should see me going after a shiitake mushroom in Waitrose. It's quite impressive to see. Now, you've got a plate of treats here for the panel. So what's first on the menu? What's this?
So I thought I'd be gentle to you all and introduce you to a fairly familiar dish and transport you back to, say, the 1100s. Time of war and chieftains and secluded abbeys, invading Vikings, and they all could have enjoyed this dish. I call it monastic fish and chips with kinda ketchup.
Oh. With a kinda ketchup. Do you want to get a poke around?
Yeah, enjoy, folks.
Is that the thing that looks like a naughty Weetabix?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the fish.
I was going to use my fingers because that's quite medieval, I thought.
If that's inclined, feel free to use your fingers. And pescatarian diets were actually not that uncommon back then. Meat from four-legged animals was so often banned. And this is where we think Fish Fridays came from, because Fridays was actually a fasting day in which fish was allowed. And okay, I know fish and chips wasn't meant to be invented till the 1800s, but actually a couple of hundred years before that, the Portuguese brought over battered fish, and we've actually always had the ingredients.
Mine's just fighting back a wee bit. Oh my goodness, is it ketchup? What is that? Sauce is fabulous.
Well, I call it a kinda ketchup, made using enriched ingredients.
It's lovely.
It's
The ketchup's really nice.
it's a bit like
It's really lovely.
I mean, is it keto? Is it keto, darling? That's very nice. I love it. One of these dishes is going to be fake, okay? It's not going to be exactly what it looks like. So that was quite interesting. That was quite.
I like the
palatable.
porridgey fish.
Porridgey fish, aye, that's
good.
So what's the second one? Is it this?
So for the second dish, I thought I would give you something a bit more fit for nobility in a grand setting such as this. I'm curious as to what you think it is.
What we
What
think
is
it
it?
is.
Yeah, in that cup there, that little egg cup.
An egg.
In an egg cup. No,
does
no,
look
I don't
like
think
an
it is.
The
Look.
egg.
I think it is an egg.
What is an egg?
And, but maybe have a little taste of it and see.
It's a Heston Blumenthal style constructed egg, isn't it?
You've got it bang on. So there's actually no egg in your boiled egg. Instead, it's got a mixture of almonds and saffron and sugar set into a jelly. And this was known as a medieval subtlety because it's not at all what it looks like.
So, sorry, the word subtle, so it's called a subtle egg.
It's subtlety. A subtle but exquisite egg.
That is extraordinary.
Oh, is it really?
No, you'll find out later, sweetheart. You'll thank me. So, sorry, I got it wrong right there because this is. What is that?
So this is the third dish. And that I'm going to take you into the Victorian era. You might want me to talk a little bit about it before you try it.
Okay.
This was an age of exciting Arctic exploration as intrepid adventurers headed north, including one of my personal inspirations, Dr. John Ray. And pemmican had already been developed in the 1700s over in Canada by native indigenous recipes. However, now experts were being asked to improve it in the name of the country. So for Ray's later expeditions, we actually have a Scottish pemmican, which has got the traditional lard, dried meat, dried fruits, but also dried haggis and other ingredients. Doctors at the time knew that things like chili would promote blood flow, and it needed to be really caloric.
So, this is basically just fat.
I was honestly expecting an Arctic roll, and I have to say, but it's almost like a spicy Christmas pudding then.
Oh, well, that's actually a compliment. That's not what I thought you were going to say at all.
I hate Christmas pudding.
Oh,
So this is a 500-euro pudding.
This is what. Can I just keep talking, everybody? I don't know what I've just chewed, but my nose is running and my eyes are watering. What is that?
Oh, that's giving me
That's-
both.
I think you might be in love.
chili.
I'm actually speechless.
This is it's so it's quite spicy. It's more spicy
is
than
spicy.
Yes, it is rather. Are you all right, Sanjeev?
I'm good, actually, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put
warm
that
in the
over there just now. I'm a woman who drank Slim Fast, and I still can't handle that.
Well, this is about a 7,000 calorie meal a day. So
Right,
Whoa.
right, you've tried the three.
What do I
And-
put that through Miss Palas when we're done?
I just skipped
Right,
that bit.
okay.
What did you think?
I thought that the evil candle was the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth, and I regret every decision up into the spoon going to my teeth. And I can still taste it.
Did you like the wee egg though?
No. I apologise. It felt like it was lying to me. It was a dishonest egg. But I like the oat fish.
You like the old fish? Before I ask you to
Sanjeev, what did you think of it?
Thank you.
Well, I love the idea of something, a chopped lie, that the subtlety thing, the thing that, I like what Heston Blumenthal does, and that's what that is. I like that. I agree with Ashley. I wasn't mad keen on the meaty candle, but I can see that it could get you through a couple of weeks in the Arctic. Probably anything else, you just wouldn't want to eat anything else ever in your life. And I'm enjoying the fish. I mean, I think so. One of these is fake.
Yeah, so can have our experts got any notion about which one? So don't forget, one of these dishes is completely and utterly fake. So do you think two of them, at least, you can believe would have been served at the court of the king?
Yeah. I mean, I could believe the fish and chips. I think it tastes medieval.
Yeah, it does. It
In a
does
good
taste
way.
monastic.
In a good way, sorry.
It does taste
fantastic.
monastic.
It's
Do
lovely.
you think
It's
that
fantastic.
the fish and chips is the real one?
I do think that's a real one.
Crosstalk going on here. What did you think, Nikki? I mean, that looks like it could have been served to a king to make him laugh, right? Because they made their own entertainment in those days.
Exactly.
They absolutely loved this food that made to look like something else and different and tasted different. That was a major thing at Royal. So that one definitely is real.
Right, we've got Bowden, who's just said we love cat, but I'm taking it she's never tried what we've now decided to name the meat candle. And I think if that's okay for a keto diet, we're putting that on the market. And Wolf Dancer says it's great to see my colleague Pat. Now we've eaten these three dishes. We've tried them. You're not making me eat any more of that. I'm telling you here and now. So you might as well tell which Which one do you think's fake?
I think, because it's the nicest, that the fish and chips is the fake one. I think it's actually like a really, I think that would be a delicious addition to any like harvester menu. One of my favourite eateries.
Okay, Ronald.
I'll go, Ashley. I mean, I do think it's maybe too good to be that old. But, yeah, okay.
Okay.
I'll accept it.
Come on, Nikki. Put your historian's credentials, slap them on the table there. What do you think could possibly be the fake dish and the real dishes?
If I get this wrong, I will never live it down.
No.
This is
That's okay.
And also being thrown by Kat's acting. Look, she's given it some serious jeopardy.
Pay no attention to the wench serving girl over here.
For the sake of being different, let's go the pemmican. The meaty can.
You think that's real?
Because I think that might be a triple bluff. Where
Yeah.
Kat, I think you've invented that
Out of cruelty.
as something that you thought would be an ideal meal. Because I totally believe the egg and the fish. Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, I think we're going to have to wrap this up because I think it's time we looked at you, Kat, as the expert to tell us which two of these fabulous, I'm saying that with my tongue full in my cheek, which two of these fabulous dishes are real and which ones are fake?
So the fish and chips is real, although fish and chips was a later invention. We had all the ingredients to make this kind of dish. And the egg is real, so I'm so sorry, guys.
You're an evil wench.
I was told to get visceral reactions, so everything went from the kitchen cupboards.
Right, that's it.
So you basically scraped the back of the oven and put it into a...
A little bit.
Right, okay. Thanks for that.
Ate that. So the fake was not the eggs, it wasn't the fish and chips, it was actually that meat candle. And we were made to eat that. Look at that. We were made to eat that. So what we do now is if you want to, so you can actually look, you can find your own subtle egg recipe in the comments on YouTube. And Linda says, on YouTube says, I'm happily vegan. No wonder. Look at that. No wonder you're happily vegan. Honestly. Thank you very much, Kat.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank
Yay, Well, that was quite a diet that I think we should be avoiding for the future, for the rest of it. I hope you all had a good breakfast before you started up, that's for sure. Now then, I'm Susan Morrison. We're coming at you live from the Great Hall at Edinburgh Castle in CastleFest Historic Fact or Fake News. I'm joined by two teams of history experts and enthusiasts. We've got Team Shield, no, your Team Sword with Ronald McInnes, and we've got Team Shield with Nikki Scott and Sanjeev Kohli. And we've got the lovely Ashley Storrie sitting over there, crowned as a crown princess of comedy sitting there. Now, we are in the Great Hall, built in 1511 for James IV. He used it for great banquets and state events, but it's also been used as an army barracks by Cromwell, and it was also a military hospital. And now, as you can see, it's been returned to its former glory. It's a perfect place to have a quiz. As you can see, we've got lots going on in this castle. And between 1406 and 1542, Scotland had 5 King Jameses in a row, 5 of them. Then for the 2 after Scotland, there was a couple of Right Charlies. But here's your questions, right? What did the Kings, James 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all have in common?
They were called Stuart.
All has the name Stuart. Any other names, quickly?
They were all kings.
They were all kings, I'll take that.
all men.
All men, all that's it?
Sudoku champions.
Sudoku champions, I'm going to give you that. It was so left field. Okay, they all became king before reaching majority, or adulthood as we would describe it. Not only that, the kings 1 through 5 all died in, well, rather unfortunate circumstances, so it's time for a new game, and here we go. Each team will give a fact and some fake news about the unfortunate deaths of our once great leaders, and you have to work out what really happened. Okay, Nikki and Sanjeev, you can start this time. So tell us, what was the unfortunate circumstances of James I's demise?
Well, he sadly fell from his horse after it was startled by a musician dropping his harp out of a window into the courtyard.
Startled horse fell off harp. Got it. Okay, and Sanjeev, how do you think he died?
Nikki is talking cobblers. He was escaping murderous noblemen through the sewers of a monastery, but the sewers had been blocked up to stop tennis balls escaping, and he was stabbed to death.
Okay, is tennis a thing back then?
It is. It's like real tennis, you know, like the old-fashioned thing where you hit it against the wall and all that.
So Kirby.
Kirby. No,
It's got to be with sloping roofs, I believe.
Right, okay.
yeah.
Okay,
It's been on Game of Thrones.
You're saying tennis, and you also said that harps were too heavy to drop out a window, so we're going to go, he went down a sewer, got trapped by tennis balls and get stabbed.
Doing a sewer trapped.
You are correct. Well done.
And he deserved every stab.
Nikki, get over it. We know you don't like James I. We've been through this already. Talk to your therapist about it. Okay, next, James 2, the sequel. Ranald and Ashley, what happened to him?
Well, James II died when he was blown up by his own cannon.
That's a lie and a rumour. He died of exhaustion in his mistress's chamber on top of her, but had to be moved to his own bed to spare him the shame and humiliation of his dirty deeds.
See, now this is interesting because either characterises James II as Frank Spencer or James Bond. so we have to decide which one he was. Ooh Betty or Mish Moneypenny? Which one?
Ooh, Betty or oh, Betty.
Did he get blown to bits or expire in his mistress's arms and get shuffled along
Do
the
we know,
corridor?
was he a Lothario? Or did he...
Well, most of the Jameses were a bit...
Lothario-ish?
Yes, Lothario-ish.
The
That's a
gyms
good-
were filthy.
and was he clumsy?
Well, cannon are notoriously unreliable back then. It's like they do tend to blow up and kill more of their own side than they do of the enemy.
Okay.
So,
And it may well have been out of warranty as well.
Well, that's true.
Well-
That's true.
yeah, I mean, where do you even get a warranty for a cannon? And
I've got one in my hostess trolley. That's where I keep all my warranties and guarantees. What do we think then? I think it might be the cannon.
yeah, I'm inclined to go cannon.
We think it's the cannon.
Cannon.
Yes, well, it's me again. He was blown up by his own cannon, and if you know this phrase from Shakespeare, he was literally hoisted by his own petard. Which is
Where that comes
that's
from?
where, yeah, he was blown up by his own bomb.
Also, I've been saying
Wow.
that.
But, so a petard is a bomb?
Yeah, it's a bomb.
Okay. I thought it
I
was
know.
braces. I don't know why I thought
it
that.
was like a leotard.
Like Boris Johnson, kind of, yeah.
No.
Petard, that's blown to bits, smithereens. It was a bit unfortunate, and once again left a child to get to the throne. And that was James III, as we like to call him in a friendly way. He was the next in the Stuarts. He'd also died in unfortunate circumstances. So, what do we know of James III? What do we like to know about James III? What do you think, Nikki?
Well, Jimmy III died in battle at the Battle of Sauchieburn, which was near to the field of Bannockburn.
That's far too dull. Jimmy III had his eyes poked out by a vulture and then couldn't see and ran into a medieval lamppost and died.
This isn't that difficult, I don't think. Actually, is it?
Well,
I just got distracted by Sauchieburn and then wondered if its pair went missing. So that's I heard the word sock and then went away in a wee whimsical land of moan and wondered if there's a panty burn. Right.
Well, he could have got bumped off
Right.
at the Battle of Sauchieburn.
Right.
Right. Or a vulture
Pecked his eyeballs.
could have pecked his eyes out and he ran into a lamppost.
Medieval lamppost.
A medieval lamppost.
Medieval
So a flambeau. Tough.
Yeah, flambeau, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say, flambeau.
Did
It seems most unlikely.
vultures exist back then?
It was very much the age of the vulture.
They d- well,
They kept
they
birds
probably
of
did,
prey.
but did they exist in Scotland though? Maybe he wasn't in Scotland.
It could have been a bird of prey that was wrongly identified
Maybe
as a
it was an
vulture.
osprey.
Yes, let's see, it was an
I'm
osprey.
going to go, I think, is it the Battle of... Is it the battle? Okay, he died in the Battle of Sauchieburn.
He did indeed, yes.
Oh, thank goodness.
A group of rebels led by his own son.
Oh, poor Jimmy.
That must have made family Christmases really
Yes,
awkward
I know
after
how that feels.
But yeah, it was. Well done, actually. Yeah, he was bumped off at the Battle of Sauchieburn against his own son. So, Ranald and Ashley, now we've come up to James the Fourth. That was 1513. So, Ashley, what do you think happened to James IV?
Jim Bob the Fourth. He just died. He was just old. He was getting raging. He choked in his own spit and died.
End of the story there, sadly. And Ranald?
Well, actually, James IV, like his father, he also died in battle, and he was the last monarch in these islands to do so.
Or he choked on spit.
Well, technically,
did-
you mean in the battle?
He could have.
I'm with you on that one. Okay.
Did any of the Jimmies reach an age, or do we know?
No, Jimmy's 1 through 5 all died quite young.
Okay. And it's impossible to die of young age, isn't it?
I don't know.
To die of young age. I mean,
Well, you
could
can't
yeah.
die of young age.
Yeah.
Sorry, have you never heard of live hard, die young, my friend?
So he's
Let's put it this
definitely
way.
not dying.
Yeah, that's dying of living hard. It's not dying of being young.
Yeah,
Here
he's not
was-
dying of old age, I think, because they're all dying.
Yeah.
So it
Relative
must be
old age.
Yeah.
dying in battle.
Relative. Yeah. There was no really good pension plan for a Stuart King at this time.
No,
They were-
yeah,
so-
no.
so
You
what
couldn't
do
get an
think
actor near
happened?
them. I think he died in battle.
You think he died in battle? Think he
Yeah.
died in battle? Did he die in battle?
You're
No.
absolutely right.
Rano, what battle?
It was the Battle of Flodden, 1513. James IV had invaded England, as you do, in support of France and the Old Alliance, and they got beat, unfortunately. I still say we were robbed, but
It was probably a penalty shootout, I'm not sure. But, and that, I'm afraid, then eventually we had James V, he fell ill and famously said, allegedly, it came me alas and it gang me alas, meaning when the Stuarts started with the marriage of Robert the Bruce's daughter, Marjorie, to the Stuart line, and it ended with Mary Queen of Scots, who was also a Stuart. And I'm afraid that is the end of the Jimmy round. I'm afraid you've won again.
Don't apologise.
Shields have won again on that. Now, we have some people on YouTube put their hands up if they'd ever visited the Great Hall here at Edinburgh Castle, and the following people have stuck their virtual hands up: Rose Henderson, Linda Street Ellie, Noodle MJ, Grant Robson, Inga Borlowski. Now then, it's everything as we go into the last round. Everything to play for. It's like Scotland against Argentina. It's one of those great games that will go down in history. And of course, it was Brazil with Archie Gemmill scoring that amazing goal. So now we have little hooks and haunters and bells and whistles, so let's try them out before we start. Ashley? Lovely, lovely. So this is a quick fire round. Fingers on the buzzers. I will roll my sleeve up. Are we ready? So there's everything still to play for, remember? Quick fire round. There, you're in the lead. You're in the lead, but much to play for. Okay? So Ashley, just relax, sweetheart. Okay, because you're clenching. You're clenching your hooter too hard. Right, that's good. Right, okay. So, fact or fake news? Robert the Bruce destroyed Edinburgh Castle.
Fake news. It was me early on. I had a partially defrosted chicken.
Wrong. It's fact. To make it less attractive to the English to capture, all was destroyed except Margaret's Chapel, built by David I in 1130, making it the oldest building in Edinburgh, and you still can't get a mortgage on it. What must the neighbours have thought? Okay, 2. What would be the best castle in Scotland to get through the COVID-19 lockdown in? Hint, it's in Dumfries and Galloway.
Lockdown.
Lockdown, here, there, Lockdown. Robert the Bruce probably built the castle in the late 1200s. Fact or fiction, are you ready? Lochdoon Castle was Scotland's first mobile castle.
it was submerged because of a hydroelectric scheme, and they took it stone by stone and put it on the side of the loch.
Amazing. Lochdoon was moved for an electric scheme, and you still cannot get a signal there. Astonishing.
Available for kids' parties.
Right, fact or fiction, are you ready? The Edinburgh military tattoo is named after last orders in the pub. Ashley?
Fiction!
No, fudge! Fact!
That's what I meant!
So I'm going to give you the point, because that's what you meant. The 17th century Dutch phrase, don det tap toe phrase, which means turn off the tap. Got that? Don det tap toe, turn off the tap. Drummers and trumpeters would play the signal to barkeeps that they were to close, and soldiers were to return to their barracks. This evolved into being the last duty call of the day. Don det tap. Right, fake news, fact or fiction. The KGB insisted that a 500-year-old part of Edinburgh Castle had to be bricked up before a proposed visit by Mikhail Gorbachev. True. It's true.
Demanding beggars.
I know, those Russians. It was the Laird's lug, and it was used by James IV to listen to guests in the Great Hall, and which is where we are now.
Oh.
So, and we can actually see it, and it's up there. There it is. Do you see it? The bar window up there, so we could sneak in. Yeah.
It's not really that subtle, is it?
No,
It's
nobody
just
said it was
hiding up there like, hello.
That's it,
I'm
right up
listening.
there.
Big lug.
Fact or fiction, fake news. Robert Louis Stevenson wrote about the pirate Black Bart and Treasure Island, and 21 of Bart's crew were imprisoned and executed in Edinburgh Castle in 1720. Fact or fiction?
Fact.
Fact. It is indeed fact. It is indeed. You just clawed back an extra point there. Excellent. Actually, 400 years ago, a gang of Bartholomew Roberts' pirates sailed from the Caribbean to Scotland to retire. Yes, that's what you heard of, retire. They were captured off Argyll, some of them in Dunoon, God help them, and they were hanged instead. Welcome to Scotland. So, I think
Visit Scotland.
I think visit Scotland before we visit you. We have another question here. Are we ready? Fact or fiction? Did a spider really inspire Robert the Bruce to continue his fight for the Scottish crown? Sanjeev?
Fact.
Do you want to...
Fiction.
I'm going to give that to Ashley.
Yes!
'Cause they
And I've
need
got my
points.
stinky
Well, because she's
candle
right.
still.
Because she's right. It's actually fake news. This story was popularised and made up by Sir Walter Scott in The Tales of a Grandfather. No spider would come near me without a daily record. I'll squish it one. Right, fact or fiction? This is the one you have been waiting for. Everyone at home, come on, you can answer this. Ready? Where the honours of Scotland were hid in a toilet to keep them safe from Oliver Cromwell. Fact or fiction? Go, go, go.
I'll say fact.
Fact. What do you think? I'm going to give it because it's the last question. Fact. It's a popular story. It's a popular story. But the records show that the crown and sceptre were hidden in Dunnottar Castle, where the honours were smuggled out in a washing basket or a baby basket, presumably not with the baby in it, because that would be quite sore with the jewels and that. And then hidden under the floor of a parish church, only to be recovered after restoration in 1660. But the honours were hidden in a toilet under Edinburgh Castle during World War II, however. So it gives a
some
whole
point
new
there.
meaning to sitting on the throne. And Sir Walter Scott discovered the honours of Scotland after they're missing for over 100 years. So it's fact-ish. So basically, I think that's one last question just before we say goodnight to everybody. Fact or fiction? A Jacobite force failed to capture Edinburgh Castle during the Rising of 1715 because the ladder they brought to scale the ramparts turned out to be too short. Fact or fiction?
Fact.
Fact. It's a fact. It's a fact. There's no more detail. Just next time you invade Edinburgh Castle, bring a bigger ladder. That's it. That's the end of the show. We didn't have time to get to the questions about The Walking Dead, the zombies, the Queen of the Fairies, or the Blue Men of the Minch. We'll just have to leave that next time, I guess. Now let me look at the scores, which basically I've just been making up, to be honest with you.
That's what historians do.
And I'm sorry, but Shield, you know, well named, fought off sword, and I'm sorry you've ended up with 2 points ahead of a sword. But you got the tiara, so basically, actually, you take away the honours of this evening. Thank you. And all the people who have been watching and commenting. So we've had Kai Aaron and Laura Muir, and they were particularly good online, so thank you for joining in. So congratulations to the Shields, commiserations to the Swords, and a special congratulations to all of you that played along at home. And thank you to Historic Environment Scotland, all of the staff here at Edinburgh Castle for letting us broadcast from the Great Hall. It is truly fantastic. It's been a wonderful night, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. And once again, fabulous thank you to our fabulous panellists. Let's hear it. Ashley Storrie, Ronald Innes, Nikki Scott, Catherine Milligan, and don't forget a lovely cat with her. Woo!
Cat, the stinky meat candle.
The stinky meat candle, Ashley. I've been Susan Morrison. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Shall we there? We celebration.